So today we're going to read one of my favorite stories called Giraffes Can't Dance. And the author's name is Giles Andreed, and it's illustrated by Guy Parker Rees. So now as we read this story today, we're going to use key details to retell those important parts of the story. And this is important because it's going to help us to understand the central message or the lesson that the author wants us to learn from reading his story. So before we read, there are a few words that might be unfamiliar to you that I want to go over. And the first word is buckled. And when something buckled, it means to bend or twist. The next word is sneered, and sneered means to make fun of. The next word is clot. Clot is a clumsy person. And the last word is entranced. And entranced means amazed or something that you can't take your eyes off of. So let's read Giraffes Can't Dance. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees, but when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Now, every year in Africa, they hold a jungle dance where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. So now I'm thinking about, from reading the beginning of the story, I can tell that Gerald wants to participate in this dance, but he thinks that he can't because he's a bad dancer. And I know this because Gerald says, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. So he wants to participate, but he's very sad that he can't. The warthog started waltzing, and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. The chimps all did the cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked toward the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. "Hey, look at clumsy Gerald," the animals all sneered. "Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird." Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. "They're right," he thought. "I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot." So now I'm wondering, what did the other animals say or do to make Gerald feel badly for being different? So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He never felt so sad before, so sad and all alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. "The moon can be so beautiful," he whispered with a sigh. "Excuse me," coughed a cricket who'd seen Gerald earlier on, "but sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song." Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying, and his tail was swishing round. So now I'm wondering if you can tell me what details tell you how the cricket helped Gerald become more sure of himself. He threw his arms out sideways and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. "I am dancing. Yes, I'm dancing. I am dancing," Gerald cried. Then one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream! Gerald's the best dancer we've ever seen." "How did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said, "when we find music that we love." So now thinking about and after having read the whole story, I want to know, what lesson did Gerald learn at the end of the story? And what did he say that tells you that that was the lesson that he learned? So that was the story Giraffes Can't Dance, and today we took a look at and used those key details in the story to retell the important parts of the story. And this was important because it helped us to understand the lesson or the central message that the author wanted us to learn. And I think what he wanted us to learn is that we're not all alike, and that it's important to accept others for their differences and to accept yourself for being different also.